Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my main man is Dr. Paul Thompson. We are the Wingman Show. What's up, Brother Paul?
Oh, not much. I'm just talking to you. It's a good day. I'm looking forward to the show and happy to greet our listeners and watchers and observers and fans and everybody else.
Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right into this. Bank failures. That's been the big thing in the news. Bank failures. And a lot of people can't comprehend that. And I couldn't comprehend that. How do these banks fail? Well, I found out, Dr. Paul. These big banks, the big ones, act like credit card consumers who don't have any ceiling on them, who may never have to pay it back. So what they did, just for the listeners to understand, is that they took high-risk ventures to try to make more money in the long run. And what happened is the interest rates went up and they kind of got caught up in their own selves and they couldn't pay what they borrowed. What happens is the smaller banks, our little country banks that we have in our communities, they're doing great. You know why? Because they don't give out loans unless they're very, very secure. You have to have money to borrow money from a small bank. But these big banks, they just acted like consumers that mess up their credit because it's like they got the credit cards for the first time and they just buy $2,000 worth of shit. And all of a sudden, how am I going to pay for it? Is that only $28 a month? Yeah, for the next 30 years. What do you think, Dr. Paul, about these big bank failures?
Yeah, it's kind of like having a Discover card and discovering you can't pay the bill. Yeah, the bank failures they've been talking about, those two big ones, SVP, Silicon Valley Bank, and one in New York called Signature Bank. But the Silicon Valley Bank was basically Silicon Valley, big ventures, big money, not that many depositors probably, but they were all big time. And they put out so much to these guys that, when things got shaky, they started taking some of their money out, and the money that the bank had to pay to, let's say, the Fed to borrow theirs, the interest rate went up. So all of a sudden, they didn't have enough money to cover their responsibilities. So they went insolvent, which is kind of unusual.
And it's important for us to tell our listeners, if you have less than $250,000 in the bank, this is not one of your problems because you are guaranteed that $250,000. And if you have more than $250,000, maybe the only thing you should do, you shouldn't take your money out of the bank. What are you going to put it in your mattress? If you have more than $250,000 in the bank, diversify, get a couple of banks and keep them all below $250,000. Just spread your money around. Don't have too much in one bank.
Yeah, and the government says, we're going to cover everybody. And I think they said everybody in these big banks that fail, the government's going to cover all their money. They're not going to lose a dollar, which is very unusual. Some people say, well, credit unions are safe. Credit unions have the same restriction, about $250,000. It's backed by, I think it's a different organization that backs the credit unions than the regular banks. But it's still government regulated and they are very safe. The important thing is that, you need to do something with your money. Don't just keep it in a mattress. That's not a good idea. For most people, these kinds of things don't really affect you too much. The banks aren't going to fail. The reality is they can always print more money. That's another problem, but you can always print more money. You ever been to the Bureau of Printing and Engraving? I was there once in I think I was in the 5th grade. It was a YMCA trip to Washington, D.C. And I went to the building where they make all the paper money.
Yeah. And
it was fantastic to see. This was 1966. But you had this giant room. It's sealed off with glass. And there were like $100 bills, and they were in like sheets. Yeah. They were like about 2 feet by 2 feet, or maybe 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, sitting up like 8-9 feet high. And they're just pumping this out. Who knows what they're doing now?
You take a couple of sheets?
Yeah, the sheets. No, they didn't give us a sheet. They didn't give us any tokens.
You have to cut them right, I bet. I bet you can't have a jacked up cut.
Yeah, that was impressive to see. But money can be printed.
Yes, it can. And Dr. Paul, just to let rich people like you know, I think they're going to go up from the $250,000 they were talking about up to $1 million insured.
Yeah, for the same reason we just said, they can cover it.
That's
I
right.
can see that. That was 250,000. That was set a long time ago. So,
And remember, the answer to recession or when things are not doing well, make more money.
yeah.
Don't ever forget that. Put it on yourself. Don't blame anything on other people. All right. First of all, look at them badass jets we got behind us. I got 2 F-15s in the sunshine. How about that? What are you looking at, Doc?
That's not behind me. Is it's a Russian airplane. It's in the Indian Air Force, but it's an Su-35 flanker. It's like a multi-role, single seat air superiority fighter. Very maneuverable. In fact, they've got one on a pedestal. No, it's a billboard going into the airport in Delhi. I remember. Very nice picture one. This one is one Russia sold to India. Maybe comparable to the F-16. It's bigger than the F-16, and because of the size of it, it's believed to be easier to shoot down than the F-16.
Really?
F-16 is actually hard to see. It's a small airplane. It's very hard to see, especially if you're looking at it. Very hard to see what's coming at. Call it a lawn dart. Used to call it a lawn dart. Very hard to see.
Well, that's just great. Look, everybody out there who's listening to us, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast or any other source, hit the like button, subscribe. And we have a flow line, meaning if you have questions, if you have problems, Dr. Paul and I would love to answer them. But you can get us at WingmenShow.com. That's WingmenShow.com. Write in your question, your problem, and we'll be glad to answer it. Also, we are sponsored by Magic Mind. We love that Magic Mind. And if anybody would like it, it's a juice that we drink in the morning. It increases your productivity. It reduces your stress. And I don't procrastinate as much. That's it. If you want some Magic Mind, just go to magicmind.co. That's magicmind.co. And if you want 40% off, which I know we all do, just put in the code Wingman. Put in the code Wingman. How about that, Dr. Paul?
That's good. Yeah, the Magic Mind's good. They're up to, they're always innovating. So now it's Magic Mind 4.0.
That's right. It tastes better and you don't have to shake it.
That's right. Yeah, when we started, I think it was Magic Mind 2.0, but it's up to 4.0. And the taste was always good, but the taste is better now.
Yes. And as we grow, they grow. And as they grow, we grow. So thank you, Magic Mind. Thank you for supporting us. And thank you for believing in us. All right. Next one. Meditation in schools. This young woman actually had some anxiety problems, some stress problems, and she got into meditation and mindfulness. It worked so well, she got a doctorate in it. And now she and a partner teach K through 12 throughout all 50 states. I think they have like 5,000 schools, but they do a 10-minute mindfulness session. And it actually helps with the kids' stress. It calms them down. It puts them on a purposeful track. And they said that the results are incredible. Now, I do my own meditation, and I do know that mindfulness works. But to give it to young kids at such a young age, I think is incredible. And I think it's very smart.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's I was surprised to see something like that, and it's probably one of the better things in education I've heard in years. If you look at what's going on now, just in the society, and not to pick on schools or young people or teenagers or anything, there is a lot of stress, and a lot of the stress is being manifested in very destructive ways. It would be nice if everybody was nice. But sometimes people are just so keyed up, they need to have some kind of a relief valve. And by putting it on kids, this young, it's good. They're cutting, music and physical education in a lot of schools, which is, I think, horrible. But adding this in 10 minutes a day, that's not going to hurt anything.
Well, let's just talk about that for a moment, because you and I have had big discussions on this. Music. When we learned band in elementary school, we had gym and we had art. And those are the three things that really touch a part of your brain for creativity. And they're starting to take that out of schools. I'll never forget my first little wooden recorder. And then I went on to the trumpet. And as soon as I knew I couldn't play too good, I went to another instrument. But I had the violin, the trumpet, and I think I ended up with the drums.
Yeah, and all kinds of stuff too. And the key thing is that it builds your life, expands your life, and also expands your brain power, and your exercise. It's not about, you don't have to master the instrument at all. You don't have to be, everybody's not going to, play basketball in college or in the NBA or that kind of thing. That's not the point. The point is that only a few people get to do those things and see them on TV. Just a few. They could fit on a bus. But the thing is to get in the habit of doing different things and exercise. A simple thing you can do, and this was suggested, it's not original. I got it from a guy who went to one of his seminars. He said, practice writing, which nobody does now because we're typing on these things, which is a mistake. You'll develop a big part of your brain. Just write something. So I'll write my name maybe across a piece of paper 4 times, Paul, a bunch of times. With my right hand, I'm right-handed. I'll also do it with my left hand. It's not going to be as good. That's not the point. Actually, it is. It's about as good now, and I can't explain why. Wow. That's not the point. The point is to exercise a different hemisphere of your brain. It's like you're doing, push-ups with one arm or doing dumbbell curls with one arm and not doing anything with the other arm. We're trying to balance things. So use both sides of your brain. The handwriting is just an example, but doing the music and doing language differences, learning a language does the same thing. You exercise more of your brain. So people who speak multiple languages, they got more going up here. And that's a good exercise. Also helps everyone, even elderly people, helps with maybe reversing or controlling, preventing dementia. That's what the studies say.
That's true. And, a lot of countries are not as big as the USA. So when they go to school, they learn 3 and 4 languages just because they have to communicate with the people around them in their areas.
That's true. One time I remember the ship pulled into Mombasa, Kenya, got off and, walked around. These little boys came up to us and they would come up to all the tourists, people who were obvious tourists, and they would speak multiple languages. And they were looked to be about 8, 9 years old, I'm guessing. And they didn't know. And they would basically, I heard them speak German, heard them speak French, heard them speak Italian, maybe a couple of others languages, and they hit English. And they were basically dialing us in for the purpose of selling T-shirts.
Right.
So how much were their brains?
Those kids, those children we talk about speaking multiple language, or most people who speak multiple languages learned them when they were younger.
Yes.
Because you can learn. I went to Israel. I lived in Israel for my 10th year in high school. And I learned how to speak Hebrew because I was immersed in it. And I spoke like an Israeli too. And it trips people out when I come here and speak Hebrew to them. I love it, actually.
Okay. He's obviously a spy. Okay.
No, I love freaking people out because they look at me and say, "You're Jewish?" And I look at them saying, "Yes, I actually look like the original Jewish people." But that's another subject for another day.
Yeah.
How about this problem we're having, Dr. Paul? And you and I did it. Verbal abuse and violence against robots.
Yes.
How many times do you yell at the phone customer service when you can't get what you want? And they keep, press 1 if you'd like. And you're like, customer service.
Yes, I do that. I can. I'm a little quicker than you. By that time, I could get in like 3 customer services for your 2. Because I want to do it quick. Customer service. I say as quick as I can. Half the time that works. You would like to speak customer service? Is that right? And
the violence comes in and the abuse comes in is when you phone in. So people who are doing business now, calling into a company is not very easy. If you go on their website, you can pay a bill right away. But if you want to find customer service, it takes a while. And you and I talked about this on a previous show, but they have phone loops now where you think you're going to customer service, but they just loop you and loop you and loop you. And there's never anybody going to be there, no matter what you say.
Yeah, I won't mention any company names, but there are 2 very well-known companies I deal with. And there's no way, and then a lot of times they'll direct you to a chat box, on your computer. You start chatting things in. Every once in a while, it used to be real people to respond. But if you get something serious going on, you're going to get the same kind of thing. Instead of hearing it over the phone, you're just reading it on the screen. I got smart. I said, well, I want to speak to a human being. It'll say, I don't understand. Repeat your question. Well, then it's obvious you're not talking to a real person. So, computers are here, and the AI will probably improve, and you're probably going to be able to get answers to these things we find frustrating. But what I find is you waste an incredible amount of time going through that loop that you talked about. If it was like 4 seconds, okay, what's 5 seconds? No, it might be 20 minutes.
Yes.
Maybe a half hour, and you never get anything resolved. So you just lost a half hour. You might have just gone outside and played or something or worked. Especially if
I will promote this company, Apple, because they still have good customer service.
I agree.
And they had the best customer service a long, long time ago. And they're still good right now. And they're so much better than most companies.
I agree.
I love Apple anyway. All right, next one. The top 15 happiest countries in the world. Can you guess what number one would be?
Well, actually, I know, so I'd be cheating, but I would only want to say, I'll just say no. Tell me, what's the number one?
For the past 6 years, Finland has been the happiest country in the world, 6 years in a row. And I'll read them down to you, but it's funny. They're all in the Scandinavian area. The top ones here: Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Israel, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland, Luxembourg. 10 is New Zealand, Austria, Australia. 13 is Canada. 14 is Ireland. 15 is the United States. And I'll just throw this in, 19 is Great Britain. Isn't it funny that all these colder countries are nice? I guess you have to be nicer in the cold.
Well, I guess they get periods of extended darkness and extended light. I was in Finland one time for some training, which was very interesting. Different than Anchorage, like the same latitude as Anchorage, Alaska. There, well, maybe more like Boston, maybe a little bit above it. But there were a lot of hours of daylight. One time I woke up and I thought I had overslept. And, oh, man, I need to get up. I'm going to be late. And I look at my clock. It's blazing sunshine. It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Breakfast isn't for 3 hours or so. And that can kind of throw you. But, yeah, I was in Helsinki for, I guess, about 3 weeks. And it was nice. It was a long time ago. It was very nice. And was able to drive around there. It wasn't difficult. It was quiet. Nothing special.
Guns are not a big thing in those countries.
No, they have them.
Very rarely hear of mass murders or shootings in the countries that I just named. Well, remember when New Zealand had that shooting and the prime minister said, okay, guns are illegal.
Right.
Just like that.
Right.
I love New Zealand. I've been to a bunch of these countries and they are nice. They are kind. I loved Israel. They're number 4 on the list. Very kind and very nice people. Let me tell you why this is important. What did they look at to make them the happiest countries? Okay. So healthy life expectancy, also GDP per capita, how much money people had per capita, social support, low corruption, generosity in the community where people look after each other, and freedom to make life decisions. Mm-hmm. Those are the parameters for the top 15 happiest countries. You have to be happy within yourself you can't just go to Finland being miserable and be happy.
That's true. Yeah, the people there were very, very, very quiet. One thing surprised me, there was a surprising amount of graffiti in some of their other housing projects. That floored me. But
in Australia, they actually have a neighborhood like it's an art thing. The graffiti's so great and so big. it's almost a tourist attraction.
Yeah, I think we did. Did we do a story on that some time
Yes,
ago?
we did.
Maybe a couple years ago. Yeah. I remember it now.
We sure did.
Yeah.
All right. You know what time it is? It's time for the Wingman PSA. From the 11 Facts in Life. Part of number 6, sloth. Funky, filthy, lazy, nasty, disgusting nastoids. Funky, filthy, lazy, nasty, disgusting nastoids. And nastoids come from the planet Nestoria. That has been a Wingman PSA.
Well, that's very good.
Oh, I don't like sloth, boy. Funky, filthy, nasty people. And I don't talk much about what I think God likes and doesn't like, but I have made this comment. God doesn't like litter bugs. And when I see somebody throw shit out their window or just trash this country or trash this planet, it really bothers me. I wish I had the power to pull their asses over.
Yeah. Well, something I won't go. This is a different podcast. There's another podcast out. Apparently it's very, very popular. I won't mention the name of it, but it's two young ladies who were talking, and they agreed they stopped washing their hands. They made a big deal. I stopped washing my hands 2 years ago. It doesn't do anything. And their logic was, well, way back in the Stone Age, they didn't have soap and all that other stuff. So why do we need it now? I listened to it. They look like they're in their 20s. They have a following probably a lot bigger than ours. That's the reason those looking at us, please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to something that makes some sense, makes a lot of sense, not just tune into the craziness. But I was listening to this just about 2 days ago. So there's a lot of advice out there, a lot of entertainment. But to young minds that don't really know any better, you can hear a lot of bad stuff. Don't get yourself derailed by listening to a bunch of knuckleheads. If we're knuckleheads, at least we're knuckleheads who are trying to do our best, not trying to throw out information that's going to hurt you. Hopefully it'll elevate you and help you.
No, we're trying to make this half hour of your listening good. We're trying to bring you up in life, not put you down and tell you all the bad things, because good things are happening. We're not just BSing. It's hard to find, but good things are happening. It's because people don't usually report good things.
That's right. Bad things sell.
Well, we have that frequent flow line and our frequent flyers. Please use it. And you get us at wingmenshow.com. That's wingmenshow.com. Write us a question and we'll give you an answer. And this week, we got a boy from our part of the world, from Brooklyn. This dude named Timmy. He's from Brooklyn. He says he's stuck in life. He's an assistant bank manager with a college degree, and he makes $41,000 a year. And in New York, you might as well be poverty for $41,000 a year, because I think it comes out, Paul and I figured out, to $625 a week. And you just can't make it like that. And yes, he's educated, and he says he's stuck. Mm-hmm. My advice to you, Tim, is to find a new profession. Take that education you have and find something that you like to do. First of all, Paul and I don't like to work. That's why we flew jets, because we got paid to do something we loved. What you need to do is find something that makes you really excited, something that's good, and take that education and maybe go a little further in it, maybe get a master's in that subject. But don't just sit there complaining that my job is no good. Every day I would be looking for a job. Every day I would be looking for new avenues to make income. I would be working on that. And I damn sure wouldn't be sitting in a job that I hated every day, because you're hurting yourself psychologically, physically, and everything else. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of things you can do. You just have to research and go find them. And I'm proud of you for going to college, because now you have a heads up on everybody else. You can go to law school, medical school. You can do so many things that people without college degrees can't do. Mm-hmm. Dr. Paul, what's your advice?
Yeah, I saw Timmy. I think he's 31 years old. Okay. Yes, I'd say, Timmy, you're still a young man. You're still young, and you're really just getting started. So I salute you for coming to the conclusion that you need to make a change. Most people just kind of grind away. And then when they're 61, they're saying the same things you figured out right now. So you're kind of ahead of the game. The big thing I would tell anyone is, and I do it myself, upgrade your skills, learn something new. What's if you can see the future, what are the trends? What direction should I be in? You talk about being in banking. I've never worked in a bank. I don't know how it works so much. You're assistant manager. I'm going to guess that the manager is probably not doing a whole lot better than you.
68,000 the average.
Okay, that's fine.
That's nothing in New York City.
It's not in New York City. Yeah, you could put a 1 in front of it and stay the same thing. But 68. Okay, so your boss makes 50% more than you, but Mr. Drew would say that's still nothing in New York City. You're right. It would have been like 60 years ago, but not today. That's just the way it is. I think my first year in the Navy, what did I get? Remember my W-2 was like $5,211, something like that. I made more than that working for Procter & Gamble just during the summer.
You made that more flying a weekend to Paris with me and Keith, spending the week in a super fancy hotel and then coming back to America.
That's true. That's true. So the thing is that, things that, our lives change. Things change. So you really need to upgrade your skills, see if there's something else you can do. Someone say, well, start a business. Yeah, if you can, maybe you can on the cheap, something small, maybe something that you're good at, something that you can do online, you can put online. Sometimes you need a little money to start. Sometimes you just need a few bucks just to get a site or get a YouTube site. Young people are good at this stuff. We hire someone to do this stuff for us. You may be good, put something out. You got these, like 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds making tens of millions of dollars playing games. Who thinks of these things? Mm-hmm. But, talk to some other folks your generation that know who are good at this stuff. You may be able to come up with something, maybe partner with somebody, you and somebody else who are in the same boat. Get it to
like Dr. Paul and I.
Yeah, right. Get maybe 2 of you. 2 heads are better than 1. 3 are maybe better than 2. Don't get so many that you get into disagreements, but just try to do something else.
Dr. Paul, I always said that everybody is LeBron James. That's one of my little lines, just not in basketball.
That's right.
So you and I are real role models. LeBron James is not a role model. He's a great guy, great person, super duper, the best basketball player. That's not what I'm talking about. A role model means that you can roll yourself after me. You can go to college, you can go to flight school, you can learn how to fly, and you can work for an airline. That is possible. Or you could fly Navy jets. That is possible. You could hang with LeBron for the rest of your life, and you won't ever play in the NBA like he does. Because he has a God-given gift. And so do you, Timmy. You have a God-given gift. All you got to do is find out what that LeBron James in you is. You work on it, you grind on it, and you'll be very successful. And being successful means you wake up every day doing something you love and doing it well. That's what success is to me.
Yeah, I'd say move quickly, but have patience. May take a while.
It's very good advice. Okay, we're sponsored by Magic Mind, and today's ingredient is Rhodiola rosea, which helps with endurance and stops fatigue. And I love anything that gets me going. I just love it. And it's in Magic Mind, where you can get magicmind.co. You can get this Magic Mind that Dr. Paul and I take all the time. And if you want 40% off, just go put in the code Wingman. Put in the code Wingman for 40% off. But Rhodiola rosea, endurance and stopping fatigue. I hate to be tired, unless I want to go to sleep.
Right.
What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, it's that ingredient also is beneficial for avoiding, maybe alleviating depression. And like you said, it keeps you up a little bit, and it's good for recovery after exercise.
That's our Magic Mind ingredient. All right. Let's talk about this, because this is so important. Working from home. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? Well, Dr. Paul, I'd like to say that your favorite word was in this article and this research, and that word was move. MOVE. You believe in that? It is true. The human body's been around for 300,000 years, I think they said. And the one constant thing that our bodies need is movement. And when you work from home, you can get some bad habits. But more than that, you're not socializing anymore. You're not expanding your social skills. You're not meeting new people, new opportunities. So a lot of people are not that productive from home. Now, some people are, because when they work from home, they work out, they eat right, and they take care of what they have to do. But for a lot of people, you need to walk those stairs. You need to walk to work. You need to, climb up and down and move. And a lot of people are being very sedentary. Doc?
Yeah, there's a, if you look at the modern trends, just work in general, less of it is physical than it used to be. So much of our work is you're looking at screens. You're looking at us at a screen right now, where I'm looking at a screen. And we tend to be sedentary because I got to stay in front of the camera. One of the things you can do if you're sitting is to stand. And what I do, and I don't do it enough, admittedly, but I'll get up and I'll do squats. Just get up out of the chair and I'll do maybe 10 or 25 or something like that. That's a big muscle group. That's an easy thing to do. You get up and move your shoulders, do something. Really staring at a screen more than like 20, 25 minutes is not good for you anyway. It's well worth it to get up and do some basic movements. Sometimes, there's also a trend too where people have these standing desks and they stand up.
Yes. When I used to work in the Pentagon with these top admirals, they all had standing desks.
Oh, really? You were in the Pentagon? I didn't know that.
And that's years ago.
Okay. So Dark Gable ran the Pentagon. That could be the name of a movie.
Well, I was the only one who walked around in a blue flight suit and a gold scarf. That's for damn sure.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good.
And I have a good medical term for you for your move theory. It's called NEAT, NEAT, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. How about that? So it's an actual medical term called NEAT that actually are killing people because they don't move.
Right. And something that's easy and everybody could do it now. All you could actually just stand up and bounce up on the balls of your feet just slightly for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That'll actually get your lymphatic system moving. And it comes from a form called Qigong. It originates out of China. And it does work. You can do it. You're standing in line. You could be standing in line in front of an ATM with the robot, even mad at the robot, and you can kind of bounce up a little bit. So before you won't get as mad if you get your lymphatic system moving. Well, we can all move.
That's very true, Doc. Well, let's get to our wingman. Our wingman this week is very, very special to me. I don't think I've ever cried watching a TV when somebody famous has died. And I did it this week. Willis Reed, the captain, the center for the New York Knicks, he died at 80 years old. And I was sitting on the couch crying. And I was wondering why. And the reason is one of the greatest moments in my life, and they call it the top 5 greatest things that ever happened in sports. One was Ali Frazier, which I was at, all of them. And the other one was when the New York Knicks won the 7th game in the 1970 NBA champions. So it's the 5th game. The Knicks are good. Now, you got to remember my Walt Frazier, Dick Barnett, and Earl Monroe. And then you have Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, and Willis Reed. And I remember that forever. Well, it was the 5th game, and Willis Reed got hurt. And without Willis Reed, they didn't have a chance. They lost the 6th game, so it went to 7 games in Madison Square Garden. And that's all anybody talked about was Willis Reed being hurt. I was there, man. When this dude came out from the locker room, I hadn't ever heard a noise like that in a building in my whole life, Madison Square Garden. And then he goes on to hit the first 2 shots. And he hobbled down the court, and I think he was out for the rest of the game, but the Knicks won just from that little juice that he gave. And those were great times. and I've been a very miserable Knicks fan for a very long time. They're starting to be good again this year for the first time since I was in high school. But Willis Reed, he's our wingman, and everybody called him an outstanding gentleman. He was from Grambling University. He was from Louisiana. And Willis Reed, they still all call him the captain. Dr. Paul?
Yeah. Willis Reed was he was my original sports hero, to be honest with you. And when I was playing basketball, I tried to model my game after him as best I could. Apparently, in real life, he was a magnificent person. It's different now. Now you know all the players, all their little idiosyncrasies and lifestyles, things that they do. But, watching these guys play, in my opinion, I was never able to – I didn't go to Madison Square Garden until I was, I think, an adult. But just to be exposed to that kind of thing was great. Those who follow basketball, particularly young in New York at that time when a lot of stuff was going down that was not good in the city, in the culture, in the country, it was not good. And you had this team it was a multiracial team that played great team basketball, and they were basketball totally. Like we were saying, I didn't know anything about college. I heard some guy named Lou Alcindor in UCLA or something like that. That's very about true. It. I didn't know. It was the Knicks. It was the Knicks, and they were a big part of the city. And they represented a lot of people. If you think about, again, Willis Reed, HBCU graduate from Grambling State, and Walt Frazier's from Atlanta, Georgia. They were not local. They were guys. They were not from the 5 boroughs. I don't know. And Dave DeBusschere came out of, I think, Detroit. So it's a very unlikely group that came together, won a championship that most people couldn't see. I remember the games, all the games in that final. I was listening on the radio, on my transistor radio, in my bedroom, hosted by none other than Marv Albert. Yeah. We'd say, yes, and, that was, he painted the picture, and we just listened to stuff. It wasn't until maybe a year later or a couple of years later that you could even see it on TV. And the quality, and they play a tape, and the quality of the tape is not very good. So it was just the voice of it, the voice of Marv Albert talking about in the impact that Willis Reed had, just his appearance. Because they say we came out of the tunnel, even the Knicks, they didn't think he was going to play.
Right, he wasn't going to play.
He comes out. The Knicks are surprised. He said the Lakers stopped. Wilt Chamberlain. This is Wilt Chamberlain playing. He was the most powerful guy playing. He was Shaq then, or maybe more.
Without a doubt.
And he's playing. Jerry West was tremendous. Gail Goodrich was tremendous. Gail Goodrich and Jerry West were a great backcourt duo. People don't talk about.
Elgin Baylor.
They were great. Elgin Baylor, yeah, fantastic.
They all stopped their shoot around.
They stopped the shoot around.
They saw Willis Reed come out.
Yeah, they didn't.
It's almost like they lost then.
Yeah, because he hit the first 2 shots and then basically hobbled to the bench, sat down, and the Knicks just ran them off the court for the entire game. I'm just listening to Marv Albert, and it's like, wow, this can't be happening.
Right. And listening to sports on radio really gives you a sense all to your own, because you're the only one who visualized what this guy's saying. Nobody else sees it the way you do.
That's right.
That's why, reading is good. Nobody else sees that story the way you do. And let me just tell you this quick story. I went to the Garden a lot because of Daddy training Ali and Cassius Clay way back. But I used to go to the Garden a lot. And one day, Daddy took me to a Knicks game, and they were playing the Boston Celtics. And in Harlem, where I come from, they wouldn't even let you wear black sneakers. That's how much we hated the Boston Celtics. It was the first hate that I ever really had. It was against a sports team, the Boston Celtics. Oh, and I do have to correct you, Dr. Paul, like you correct me about the word slave, because you are so right. People are not slaved. They're enslaved. But you said that they were a multiracial team, and they weren't. They were all from the human race.
Okay, I'll accept that.
So I went to the Garden. My daddy knew all the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Casey Jones, Sam Jones. All of them made it to the Hall of Fame. And I'm in the locker room hanging out with all of them. And the only thought in my mind was, Daddy, you don't know anybody on the Knicks? What if my friends see me here? And they were great. And, later on in life, I realized what an honor it was to be with these guys in the locker room. And they were all just great guys. But I had to still keep that little bit of hate for Boston Celtics.
Well, then I guess, well, you were a lot like, I guess Spike Lee would have been the same way if he was there with you.
That's right. Well, Dr. Paul, for you and all the listeners out there who can hear my voice, whatever is beautiful, whatever is meaningful, and whatever makes you happy, may you have it today and forever. And I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And again, we appreciate all those who are listening, liking, and sharing this message. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe.
Yes,
help
and
us
follow
out.
us on IG.
Yes, and IG also.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.